Hello, Warriors. How's everyone doing today? Everyone okay? Okay, let's take a look at a few things here this morning. Good morning, Brock. Alexander, thank you. Didier, how's it going? Humphrey, hello. Hello, buddy. Arena, good morning. Thank you. Hi, Kevin, Hugo, bonjour. Comment allez-vous? Ingmar, doing okay. A couple of things I want to talk about here. Let's start off with oil. Okay, so as you can see, Jane asked me about this yesterday, and I said we had drive two and that completed. So I'd anticipate je suis fromage. So looking for one more high to complete the pattern. Yes, I'm cheese.
Le
So
grand fromage, the big cheese. Good morning.
good one still. Anyway, yeah, I'm the big one. See, anyway, Limburger. So looking for perhaps one more shot up here, which would tie in with the shot across the bow that we got in S&Ps yesterday. I think it was on some type of leak. Hello, Monica, Kevin. This shot across the bow happened in, less than an hour, and we're retracing. What makes me think there is potential for one more shot to new highs. And, we're in that window that Norm Winsky talked about, and um, Mark as well talked about this on the 12th. So here's one reason why I think there might be a shot for one more high, although it could be a failing rally. You see this right here? This last high, RSI high, was over 70. If we went to new highs now, there's no way we would go over 70 unless we really had some type of parabolic move. So if we get one more high, that's going to kind of tie in with oil having one more high. And this time, if there's risk off, I think oil will come off with it. Okay, so Jane asked me about that yesterday. And then I would assume that if that's correct, that there's should probably be looking for a place to buy the dollar. Up until today, euro has been the weakness. It doesn't look too bad right here. And a couple other things I'm looking at is right here in Canada on the daily. It was possible that we got some type of head and shoulders bottom here, but it's looking more likely that there's one more decline in the dollar. And while crude makes one more high, Canada could make one more low. The RSI has been diverging since this low. So one more low in Canada, should that happen, one more high in S&Ps, one more high in crude would make sense. And with that happening, perhaps we get one more high in Aussie. It's really not that far away. The high in Aussie was 78.20. So, we're 55 pips away from new highs. Kiwi looks the same for a new high. And on the daily, these will not confirm either. Okay, at new highs. So before I buy the dollar, I want to see the Aussie make a new high and diverge, and Canada perhaps make a new low. Yen's trying to dig its heels in here, but I still think that we could, get more of a test towards 104 before that happens if there's one more wave of dollar weakness into the scenario and narrative. Okay, a second line in the sand, but Sansi's calling, and DJ's been accumulating shorts, so we have some smart guys in here. DJ's been scaling into S&Ps. So that's a big question. Failing rally or one more high. And the daily at new highs, it's still glaring in the S&Ps, even more glaring in NASDAQ And as you can see in NASDAQ, unlike the S&Ps, the NASDAQ did not trade over 70 before the sell-off yesterday. So I'm with you on DJ on your call. I'm just going to be patient into for one more high. The line in the sand, of course, as Sansei is talking about, is yesterday's low, and you can see that Blake has some alarms here that's going to alert him if we start to fail. So, any questions on what I'm seeing today? A couple of potential 3 drive formations, one in Canada to the downside, one in crude to the upside, and perhaps one more shot up where we will not confirm on the 4-hour TF in S&Ps. Any questions? Okay. Anything else you want me to look at before I pass it to Blake? We'll call it attendee request. I'll grant one. Oh, there's an alert on the Dixie as it's starting to move to new lows. You know, Amira, I could have guessed. I don't even have platinum up here on what's the symbol? Okay, I'll do the gold though. So, you know, I've been talking about silver being the weak sister, and yesterday it had a pretty, you know, nasty day. Today it is outperforming the gold a little bit. I'm bearish gold still. You know, I still, you know, I guess you have to risk these highs. It's had a much better recovery than silver, and these probably have another pop. Uh, I'd be looking at shorts in silver here. Okay. XPT. Okay. XPT. Is it futures?
XPT USD is just put all on the left. It's platinum basically. So click on all
Yeah.
on the left.
Click on all. Okay.
Yeah, and just put USD and
oh, there we go. All right. Well, you know, Steve is really the guy who covers all the metals, palladium, and oh my God. Looks great. Kind of stretched. I don't know. Right now, I think you have to be naive or greedy not to take half your profits if you're long. How's that? And congratulations if you bought it. Blake, how are you, buddy?
Hey,
I have a
man,
hard
can you
time
hear
sitting
me?
in things for a long time lately. So,
What's
you know,
that?
I have a hard time sitting in things for a long time lately,
You know, we
having
were.
the patience.
It's very consolidative right now, and the market's actually you got the alert about the dollar. So the
Yeah.
dollar is just building this triangle. We're trying to break lower right now. So here, let me pull it over
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
real quick. So you can see the dollar index. This is the channel that we were following. Yesterday we came back down to the channel, and we've been consolidating, you know, overnight. And we're
Yeah.
trying to push the lower end of this channel and the
Oh,
lower
yeah.
end of this triangle and actually break down. And we'll see if the dollar can, you know, pick up some steam. The euro's stronger. You know, the Aussie, as you pointed out, is making a bit of a move. But we've seen a lot of failed moves in both directions or in all directions. And so I don't know. I'm gonna kind of wait here and see how the equity markets open. You know, I was a little bummed out yesterday. We didn't get anything, any kind of ideas from you know, Powell, and he continues to be extremely dovish. You know, we were hoping that maybe he might be just a little bit hawkish, but he is about as dovish as you could get. And we were, you know, when he was talking, we're like, wow, there's not a one hawkish remark coming from his mouth. And so that has, you know, allowed for stocks to recover. And yesterday we had the equity markets came under pressure.
Yeah, wasn't that because someone leaked that he might be talking about a tightening in June or raising rates in June.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I think there's just we were up against resistance, and then I think there
Yeah.
was a little bit of profit taking. Maybe there's some murmuring, but as you can see, markets just recovered because nothing's changed.
That's what it does.
Yeah, what has changed from what the Fed's doing? Nothing. And so because of that, we have an increase in asset prices, we have a dollar following. It's the same crap all the time, every day. And that brings up another question. And this is something that a topic that was brought up yesterday by the Wall Street Journal. I posted the article yesterday in our chat rooms and everything else. And I want to talk a little bit about this. And Stelios and Steve they'll probably want to jump in too on this conversation. And it's a conversation we were having about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. And this is a debate topic. This isn't what are we going to do with it here? Bitcoin is stronger, and it continues to hold up its gains right now. And I don't think there's anything really to say about it other than there are a lot of banks and companies that are looking to accept Bitcoin as payment. And I was having this conversation yesterday with my wife, and then my kids want to buy Dogecoin. I mean, my 13-year-old's like, how do I do this? And it's interesting because it's like, it's just a topic of conversation in the household, which, we've had Bitcoin and cryptocurrency conversations before, but it's obviously, perked back up over the last couple of weeks, once again. But anyway, the reason why I bring this up is because, Tesla is going to accept payment or wants to accept payment or partial payments in crypto. How do you do that, Dale?
I don't know.
I mean, no, seriously, like, let's say you buy crypto, you buy, let's say today, the value is at 47,000, and we've seen the volatility in cryptocurrency. So let's just, take into account what happened just in recent, the last, month. Okay. So you buy a Tesla. Let's say you spend, 50 grand, you buy a Tesla Model 3. Cryptocurrency drops to, 30% of its value, which, as you can see, is a relatively similar drop than what happened just last month. So you bought Tesla. Let's say you bought a Tesla for 50 grand. You, the next month, the $50,000 you spent is now worth, or in currency, I'm saying in currency, is now worth 35 grand to Tesla. How do you reconcile that as a company?
They would have to hedge it.
Right.
If they accepted it, then.
Because, but how do you really accept
how do you buy groceries with it? I remember even a few years ago, when it wasn't even this high, but the changes, you go into the store and, Bitcoin's dropping and, all of a sudden, your groceries are costing you more. Anyway, I don't understand the whole thing. So yeah,
no,
I know what you're saying.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, how do you, as a currency, how does it actually work? One of the reasons there is a central bank, whether it's the European Central Bank or the Federal Reserve, or they're number one. You remember Mario Draghi or Trichet, price stability. That's what they are looking for, is to keep prices stable. That's one of the reasons why the dollar is accepted as forms of payment, or any other currency, is because they don't move that much. I mean, yes, you get 1% up or 1% down or whatever, but you're not seeing 30% in a month. So, how do you actually do that? So, and I'm I think, and we were just talking about this in our chat room, it's going to be a store of wealth. And I agree with, some of the comments there. I think it's like gold. I have physical gold. I do. I don't take my physical gold and run out to the grocery store and spend it. I don't, it's just a store of wealth. And I think you're going to see that with some of these cryptocurrencies. My biggest fear right now is that, and this is another debate that I had with my wife, is that you're going to have every government is going to step in and get their share. You can say, well, that's the benefit of cryptocurrency. It's not controlled by any government. They don't control cryptocurrency, but they're going to tax it and they're going to want their share. So, and whether or not they create their own cryptocurrency in the future, is to be seen, and I know a lot of I think the ECB is talking 5 years from now, having their own cryptocurrency. What does that do to Bitcoin? And does that make it irrelevant? These are a lot of questions, which, obviously are going to be answered in the future, but I think it's, really interesting topic of conversation. But Bitcoin ever being used as a broad-based currency, it would be tough in the current environment when it's moving so much. And then Craig in our chat room said, well, if it gets to $1 million, it's not going to be that volatile, because of the numbers. And that's true to a point, but with fractions of anything, it still will become volatile. It'll still be volatile. So I don't know. It's a really interesting topic, and it's not something that I think it's more of a debatable topic, but maybe Stelios and Steve are listening in, because, and just so you guys know, the FX market is extremely slow right now. I mean, the dollar index is probing this this triangle support right here, but that's the most move we've seen pretty much in Europe, and we could very easily do something like this. So I'm trying not to get too carried away here. This is an hourly. And next thing you know, it catches everybody on the short side of the dollar, and then we move up and back into this channel. So I'm not getting excited about currencies right now, especially with, very little data coming out in just a bit. We have, the weekly unemployment claims, and that's it. So, I don't see anything that's going to move the needle much today, other than, asset prices continue to stay strong, but, currencies kind of quiet. So that's why I'm having this conversation with you. So Steve, Stelios, what do you guys think here?
Good morning. About cryptos or in general? I'll give you my
just
2 cents.
Cryptos. This is
about
a good
cryptos.
topic, and it's
about
not
cryptos.
Hold on, real quick. I'm just going to say it's not something that nobody here has a definitive answer. It's just all opinions at this point.
Of course.
So
of course.
Go ahead.
I personally think cryptos and single name stocks are the best way to take risk at the moment, and to gamble or to try and get some return, because a lot of the other asset classes are slow. The question, and obviously I know a lot of people have taken risk in cryptos and have done really well. So it's something that you can do. We had a lengthy conversation in the chat room this morning, and I do think, I hope cryptos are a part of the monetary system in the future, and the big part too, because that would be good. However, I have two questions to ask people who think that crypto is the future. One, do we think that governments are going to allow cryptos to take over from fiat? And the reason I'm asking is that we all know all major governments run huge deficits. You need to be able to increase your money supply, end of story, every year. Otherwise, you fail. You go bust.
And that's exactly the reason why, since 1971, they do not allow us to have like a fixed system, like the gold standard.
They left the gold standard, exactly.
And just to add to your point, Stelio, and you can continue, to add to the same point you're making now, central banks, with the exception of the stupid BOE, have gold in their vaults.
Yeah.
So if they had to choose to go back to a system like that, which, I'm hoping they will, but for the reasons you said, they probably won't, unless there is no alternative left, right?
Yeah.
What do you think they want to go back to? Gold that they have in their vaults, or to Bitcoin?
Well, that's a good question, but Yeah, it just seems to me very difficult or impossible that governments are going to allow that to happen. And so that's the one thing. Given obviously, if we turn into a state where there are no deficits anymore, of course, then it would be a lot easier. But the moment as it is, I find it impossible. The other thing is, people are talking about, yes, cryptos are being accepted at Amazon or whoever, and Tesla is going to be selling you cars for crypto. Okay. If there's a widespread usage, then you'll get to the limits of the network itself. There's only 10, 12, 20, whatever transactions per second globally that the system can handle. End of story. You want to make, if everybody's buying stuff in Bitcoin, then you make a transaction, it clears in like 3 weeks. It can't happen. So these two things have to change. If they change, I think cryptos are the future. They are. But will they? And obviously people are talking about, but it's so much easier to have something digital. Yes, there will be digital currencies, but backed by the central banks. That's what they want to push. They want to get rid of cash. They want to get rid of everything. Everything is digital. There's a ledger for everything. And you get all the good things of cryptos theoretically, but governments control everything, which is what governments want to do and always have wanted to do. Anyway, that's my opinion. What do you think?
Also, Stelio, since we talked about cryptos, I have another objection to what Blake said. In essence, Blake reiterated one of the most recent, I mean, it didn't come yesterday or the week before, but it was the last rhetoric that was created from the crypto community, that it's digital gold, because I remind you that they started touting cryptocurrencies as a good thing for other reasons, like they're easy to transact, they're not controllable and all that. And when they saw that none of that applies in essence, they had to refer to it as something different, which is digital gold. Now, as a store of value, I have a very basic question. Why has gold persisted for 5,000 years as a store of value? Because above everything, gold is a very useful commodity. Even if we completely dismantled for some reason tomorrow the monetary system completely, and we went back to bartering, which of course it's impossible to happen, but let's take the most extreme scenario. Would gold be worthless suddenly? No. Gold got value before we actually invented monetary systems. And because it had all the attributes it has, which is it's rather easily divisible, it incorporates a lot of value in a small size, right? And it doesn't lose its attributes over time. So you can use gold again and again and melt it and mint it and again and again. And you actually use it in industry, you use it in jewelry, and that has been the case. So we know that gold is not going to zero no matter what. How do we know that about Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency for that matter?
Yeah, that's a good point. And
I mean, what is any other use? Let's say that for some reason Bitcoin fails to gain traction, or the rest of the cryptocurrencies for ABC reasons. Governments ban them or make it extremely hard or extremely painful or tax them to death, or who knows. Okay, what's the other use you can have for Bitcoin so you can guarantee yourself that it's not going to go to zero?
Yeah. Yeah, good point. And having said that, it's hitting all-time highs now, Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, as we're staring at it, it's hitting all-time highs. And as you pointed out, Stel, but it's a perceived store of value, right, Steve?
Yes, but with no intrinsic value, which means that if perception changes, which it can easily happen. I mean, we want to talk about perceptions. Let's talk about perceptions for so many companies at the end of 1999, and let's see what reality settled to be 6 months later. So, does it have value at the moment? Yes, absolutely. Why? Because there is demand for it. Why? Because there is X perception for it. But if X perception changes, does it still have any residual value left? And now we come to the basic difference. We've talked about that in the future, in the past, sorry, which is the big difference between two things that, if efficient market hypothesis actually worked, should be one, but they're not: price and value. Price is what you pay for something. Value is what you actually get. Now, if Fama was right and we had a fishing market hypothesis, price and value should always coincide, always. So something should always have the value of it, the price of its real value. But we know very well from the past of financial market that that's rarely the case. Many times the price is extremely higher than the value, and value investment, investment to say the opposite, was based on the fact that many times something that has value is underpriced.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch how Bitcoin evolves, because we are hitting highs and the perceived value is it's going higher. Right?
Is going higher,
And technically speaking, Blake, I mean, it's a raging bull market.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. So, well, anyway, I thought it's a great topic of conversation. Everybody's in here in the chat. I mean, you know, let's read off a few of these comments really quick. I mean, Sansi says, "Hey Blake, you were telling us you wanted to buy the euro down below 120.25 to be short dollars, and it's working brilliantly. Great call. Will you hold on to euro dollar longs right now?" I know, you know, we just hit new highs in the euro at 2050. And the relative strength is divergence. I think you got to be a little careful here. There's some dollar liquidation as we're coming into trade today as we come through this support, but we'll revisit that I think a little bit later. Let's see. You can't buy a car in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is too variable. The product may vary in price, but not the currency which you are buying it, which makes no sense. One Tesla equals one Bitcoin soon. Soon it'll be one Tesla equals 0.0003 Bitcoin. So, so that was from Christopher. Sunnyland, I'm checked in, ready for guest speaking. Oh, Sunnyland's in. DJ says Lindsay Lohan's pumping Bitcoin on Twitter with rocket ship emoji rings. Yeah. Christopher says if Bitcoin drops, Tesla can claim it as a loss. Yeah, well, they've already got a lot of losses to claim. So
yeah, that's what I want to say. That's not a problem for them. I mean, it's not that they have a lot of gains and they're looking for something to reduce their tax.
Yeah. Sansi says taxi drivers take Bitcoin as payment in theory. You know, look, I'm gonna point out that I think it's a great topic of conversation. The one thing that Steve said, which you cannot deny at this point, Bitcoin is in a raging bull market. We are just powering higher, and there's not a lot you can do to stop it. I mean, you either get on board or you just get out of the way and you stand aside. And
absolutely,
so, that's the thing that you have to be thinking
absolutely
about.
And it's another example of what I've said and what people need to train, which is discipline, meaning Stelios and I, we have very specific opinions about like cryptocurrencies, right? That hasn't stopped me. I mean, I've never been short ever, and I wouldn't even think about it. I think it would be a lunacy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, on the contrary, as I've said in the past and here in the webinar, some of my friends that have, a decent amount of money on the side and they were looking for something speculative, I actually advised them some time ago to buy some cryptos, and they've made very good. One of them actually has made 200K out of it, just because for technical reasons, because the chart was looking that it was breaking out and it would be a raging bull market. So what I'm trying to say here is your fundamental thesis is one thing, but you should never trade of it, because fundamentals never matter in the short term, never.
Yeah.
Yep, we have the numbers coming in about 30 seconds. So let's look at those, and then we pass it to the guest.
Take it over to Dale.
Yes.
So let's see these weekly unemployment claims, and you can go over to Forex Analytics, open your data flash, and let me just pull that out of the way.
DXY looks really bad, by the way.
All right. Drum roll. Not that it's going to make any difference, but
It's not going to make
let's
any
see.
difference.
Yeah, 750 expected, or 770, whatever. 750. Okay. 793, big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing's moving the needle there. All right.
Continue
Well,
claim higher as well.
I'm going to pass it over to Dale because I know Dale's got his interview, and guys, I'll see you on the Face 2.0 when we go over the bias chart for Forex Analytics subscribers here in about
45 minutes exactly.
45 minutes or so. Yeah. So we'll see you there. And Dale, it's all yours.
Good hunting. Good hunting, Blake.
Good luck, everybody.
All right, Alex, I'm going to get you set up. Really looking forward to having a conversation with you.
You're muted now. Can you hear me?
Got you, Alex.
Awesome. Sweet.
All right. So you know how to share your screen here on Zoom?
I am not a Zoom person,
Okay.
This is actually my first time using Zoom. We
Okay.
just, I'm just a FaceTime type guy.
Okay. Oh, okay. If you have some charts to show talking about your OTC issues that you trade or invest in, it's a green drop box. It's a share screen. You'll see it up
Green
there.
button, share
Green
screen.
button. Yeah.
Okay, share screen. Gotcha.
And then you choose which screen or which window you want to share.
Okay. Okay, so you guys can
Got
see
it.
the
Yeah, we have Sydney
Trading view?
Resources. Yeah, got it.
sweet Sydney Resources.
Okay,
right.
all right. So before we get to what you're doing in the markets right here, Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in trading, what you were doing before, and how you gravitated to trading these kind of what do you call them, micro caps type of
Yeah.
micro caps?
Something that, have you guys ever had an OTC paint person on here?
I used to do some IR for and most of those were, bulletin board, pink
Okay.
sheet issues.
We've had plenty of OCD persons, but not OTCs.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
That's good, Steve.
definitely.
Yeah, and I remember that, that arena was fraught with all kinds of landmines. I remember that owners of these companies would really use their stock, free trading and restricted as currency to bring in promotion,
Yes.
to generate volume so that the owners of the company could raise cash. Does that still happen?
Yes, not nearly as much, but
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Wow. I mean, I'll start with my journey, man, because I mean,
Okay.
the OTC, I think a lot of other people that aren't OTC, they call it the sewer. It's the sewer of the market.
Yeah.
It's where everybody goes to honestly get in trouble and hide shit a lot of times and do sketchy stuff, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll start with my journey and then I'll start to dive into all that because there's a really good reason I'm in OTC.
Okay. And one thing before I forget, I someone that I read said that penny stock volume has completely exploded. I mean, it's 10 times, like everything else,
It
has exploded. So, if you want to be Reddit and you want to, generate or, move things, you would think these would be more of their candidates than big board stocks.
Oh yeah. And what's crazy about that, right, is what you're saying is, they're targeting shorts, right? Anybody who's a very heavy short percentage on a stock is what they're after. They don't really care what it is, right? It could be the biggest piece of crap,
Yeah.
So the great thing about these OTCs, a lot of people don't know, is these are the heavily shortest stocks that exist in the market, period. And the reason is because, the algos, the market makers, they know 99% of them are complete crap. And they're diluting constantly. The CEOs are selling shares constantly. So what do?
Right.
They have extreme short percentages on these 100% of the time. So when
I remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have someone in that step in like that, it destroys them, and that's how you can get these crazy squeezes, like moves in the OTC of 100 to 200% in one day on a stock have become very normal. And I mean, we're talking pretty good volume too. I mean, it's not how it used to be at all. In the last year, it's changed dramatically. But yeah,
so COVID has been a boom for this arena.
I think so, because they're cheap options for people to make extra money.
Okay.
I think
All
so.
right. All right. So let's get back to your road less traveled.
All right. So,
all right.
My family's always been kind of involved in financial stuff. My brother, he was a very smart guy, and he's a lot older than me. He's 15 years older than me growing up. I grew up in a much older family. My dad's 80. I'm only 28, to give you an idea.
Wow. Okay.
And, my brother was doing stocks back then, when he was in his late 20s, early 30s, when I was 15. And, I called an interest in it. And he signed me up for a custodial account called buyandhold.com. If you guys remember that back then, I mean, that would have been, back in the early 2000s or so, that website. It was a broker back then. I don't even know if they're around anymore. And, I think the first stock I ever bought was Starbucks, and I was just messing around trying to learn how to do things. And eventually what it evolved into was this, right? I've always been a research kind of guy, and I was just online researching. And I honestly, I came across a really terrible known website in the OTC called iHub. Okay. Investors Hub. And Investors Hub is a forum-based website that has pretty much every OTC company that exists. And at a very young age, I just dived right into it, man. I got obsessed with it, obsessed with researching these companies that people were calling startups. That's what they were referred to as. These are the ultimate startup opportunities, because this is the bottom of the barrel. Small caps are not the bottom of the barrel. These are, because these are the guys that are trying to get the small cap. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It was always a big accomplishment for any of these to be listed on NASDAQ, for example. That was their dream, right?
Yes.
And one out of 500 make it? One out of 1,000?
Yeah, maybe if that. And honestly, most of the time for 9 out of the 10 of the companies, I think they use it as a pump. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
And then that's obviously a hard road, and it takes a lot of money to do it. And these companies just don't have the money to do it. Is the honest truth as to why a lot of them don't make it. They're just normal guys, man. Like a lot of these guys work at car dealerships, and they're just normal people. But they're CEOs at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
So, my journey continued up until I was about 18, 19. And I ran into the issue that every teenager had in stocks, at least that wanted to do them. I was like, I got no money. I have no money. I'm broke. I was working as a busboy at the time to try to make some extra money to just do this. And at the time I was growing up in Baltimore, Maryland. I was not someone who had money. My family's not someone who had money, but we tried to do it, make it happen. So what I ended up doing to, make money is I joined the military and joined the Army. And that was the only way I could figure out how to, successfully save money to do my dream of trying to do these stocks. And I did it. I not only that, I signed up for one of the more dangerous jobs in the military, because they offered up a fat signing bonus, if I was able to pass the school. And everything went well, and I got my signing bonus, and that's what started everything. I put every single dollar that I made from signing up for the Army, and most of the money I made during the Army, into my brokerage account. And
Wow.
yeah. And
were you deployed, Alex?
I did deploy, yes. And I was stationed with it was a rough journey. I was stationed with a military corrections unit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
And
had to go out and arrest people like an MP or
when we were in the States, yes, but our job over there is we were actually the ones that were working in the prisons the Taliban were kept in.
Okay, so you were in Afghanistan.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that was risky duty. Yeah. Go ahead, buddy. You definitely had the bravery to be a traitor if you could do that. I wasn't that brave. I was glad I had a good lottery number during the Vietnam days. So, okay. So, really, admirable that you would take that type of risk just to have trading capital. I've never heard a story like this before. So go ahead.
Oh yeah. And that's what it was. I was very much in the job I signed up for originally was EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, which is bomb squad.
Yeah.
And a lot of people refer to it as the most dangerous job in the military. And that's the only way I could get the money I needed, the signing bonus. And, I ended up getting stationed with the military corrections unit, like I told you. And, I spent 4 years with them until I was hurt. I got injured and I was eventually discharged. But what was so crazy about my story is what I was mainly doing the whole time I was in the military in the OTC, right? This would have been between the years of 2012 and 2015 primarily. Okay. And what was happening back then was the green rush in the OTC. And anybody who's familiar with the green rush, it was the marijuana stocks.
Okay.
And that is where I was funneling all the money I was making in the military the whole time was into these marijuana stocks, and back then it was HEMP, PHOT, the famous ones like ERBB, the ones people know that went crazy heights. And I was buying these things at bottom, man. It was like, a third of a penny, half of a penny. Some of them were even in trips, we're talking decimal point 0.001 of a share. And what ended up happening was the green rush. Washington and Colorado went legal, and the stocks just, it was like nothing I don't think anybody's ever seen in their life. It was probably similar to the crypto stocks recently. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're talking stocks went from half a penny to dollars. And we're saying I'm saying they went there fast with volume that would blow your mind, and that, which wasn't a lot of money to, people in stocks, but my 50,000, 100,000 that I saved up back then in the Army and was sticking in those marijuana stocks at such low price points, it changed everything for me. And it all happened right around the same time I was injured in the military and discharged. And the story has always been kind of weird to me, how everything timed itself so well. I was discharged in the military in 2015, right after the second green rush in 2014 and the OTC ended, which is when pretty much everything changed for me financially. And I was able to finally continue on my journey, I guess the best way to put it.
And did you take some of that money? I went to your Twitter account and I see you own some type of mine. You bought a mine?
Yes. That's in the last few years. That's really where my love has gone. Is mining gold, silver, copper.
Yeah.
I understand the future for it and where we're heading.
Okay. All right. So you have a resource stock up here, right?
Yes. So this is Sydney Resources.
And let me say congratulations. You should write a book about this.
Yeah, a lot of people told me that, you know, maybe one day. I've thought about it. So yeah, this right here is Sydney Resources, and this is an OTC Pink stock. Okay, so OTC Pink is like their first tier, I guess, in their marketplace. You know, their lowest tier. They go from OTC Pink, and if they attempt an uplist, they go to QB, is what they call it, OTC QB. So OTC Pink is like their first tier of their marketplace, and that's where Sydney Resources is present. And I've been invested with them since right back in here. You know, right back in August is when me and my investors got involved. And that's what's really different about us in the OTC, and what's a little bit different about my journey, I guess, is a lot of people trade these things. People call me crazy because I actually invest in these things. And that's what's different about me a lot in the OTC than I guess most people you would find. And I'll let you ask questions on that.
It's because you had the paradigm of being an investor when you were in the military, and you saw the outcome. And look, I know I'm a trader. You know how many times I bought Bitcoin near the bottom, but I traded it. Okay.
Yes.
And I always had a trading psychology. So for me to, and it's really the toughest thing is a good trade is great, but a good hold is really one of the most difficult things to do. That I think that's why most people trade.
Yes.
It's very hard to have the discipline that when you have a lot of money made, not to just take it, and turn it into, it's not a profit till you take it. So if you're taught those things, you really have to fight yourself to just stay in it for the long term. I mean, some of these huge moves, I say this, either have to be greedy or naive, but you know what, to still be there. But you know what, you're showing me a different side of it, that you don't have to be greedy and naive. You just have to have the paradigm and belief system that is longer than 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, and
exactly,
and have done it. So once you've done it, it's easier to repeat it. So congratulations on that front too, to be able to do that. It's not easy.
Yeah, and I think that's really what sparked everything. Is, I saw what happened in the green rush, which it happened twice. It happened, in early 2011, 2012 area, and it happened again in 2014. I think that's what really opened my eyes to what is possible in the OTC. I saw these stocks go on major uptrends for a year plus, from pennies to dollars, and I'm like, this can change people's lives. But not only that, it can change the normal person's life. They can put $500 into this at the bottom, wake up 6 months to a year later, and their life has changed. That's what's great about the OTC. Those are the great parts, but there's also a lot of bad parts, of course.
Yeah. I've done those.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, the marijuana stocks recently, since the election, Tilray 5 to 50, there's another green rush going on after they got clobbered for a few years, and now they've all really come to life. But our metals,
This is MJ.
Okay, all right. So I kind of think that there's a true more focus on things with intrinsic value, like anything that comes out of the ground now is where you're hunting for opportunities.
So for when it comes to OTC, a lot of what I do, to be honest, is sector related, right? Industry related, sector related. What I look for is, so what's hot right now in the market is metals and miners, right? So what's gonna replicate to the OTC is the same thing. And we saw the same thing with electric vehicles. I'll show you. This is another big investment of ours. Electric vehicle company in the OTC.
Okay.
As you know, on big boards, electric vehicles companies, they've been bananas. And you can see the same replication here on an OTC stock. It all goes down, it's one stream. They all follow each other,
Yeah.
It's just about quality. Like this right here, for example, I have been in this since way down here. All my followers know that. Everybody on Twitter knows that. I've made it public. That's where I told everybody, hey, we're doing this. And I'm still here. We're still here. You'll still see me talking about it every day. And the reason is something like this, right? It took me an extreme amount of research is what it comes down to, these OTCs. This one, for example, a big thing to me is zero debt. I'm not looking at assets. I'm not really looking at, are they making money? If they have cash, stuff like that. The main thing I'm always worried about first is debt. Because like you brought up to me first, you said I always heard about CEOs selling shares being converted. That's where I always got screwed. And that's where most people get screwed, is debt issues.
Okay.
So
how about is float and outstanding shares important to you too?
Yes, big time. So, and that's another example of this one right here is GWSO is a 32 million OS, I believe. And then their float is only 3.2 million shares. Very tiny. So, it doesn't take a lot of volume, which is important in the OTC when you don't have as much as big board. It didn't take a lot of volume to move this thing to crazy heights.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. The high volume days, was there news on those days? I'm looking at, maybe like towards the end of last year in December. Yeah, huge volume there. Yes. And then all the way back, what was it? They put out a press release.
So most, if I remember correctly, this right here, this would have been their press releases on their electric vehicle conversion. And they put in, the main thing GWSO is doing is they're producing a battery that doesn't use lithium. It uses sodium instead. And that's why their stock's been going crazy. They have 2 patents right now that are in application status for this battery. And they have a genius CEO. His name's Dr. Vladimir Vasilenko. He has a long history of patents. And he tried to do this EV thing back in 07, 08 with Global Warming Solutions. And, I think like most, he was early in the game, right? And he failed back then. And if you actually look, you can see it.
Yeah.
This is when he tried before. And here we are now.
Were there reverse splits on the failure?
I believe so.
Yeah,
or
that's
maybe
what kills you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Which is what you see a lot in OTC. You see recycling, you see reattempts, you see revivals. And that's what GWSO was. It was a revival. It was a reattempt of a past project. And that's why if you know what you're doing, you can make life-changing money, right? I knew EV was going to be a hot thing again in the OTC because of what was happening in big board. So what do I do as a person who loves research? I go on OTC scanners and I look into everybody who was ever involved in EV in the OTC, in its past. And who do I find? I find Vladimir Vasilenko. And what do I figure out? He's in the process of reviving GWSO way down here. So I'm able to catch a major move early is the goal.
Okay. How about, do you get it wrong at times, Alex, and nothing happens, or they go VK?
Oh yeah.
And how do you manage risk and decide how much of a commitment you're going to make to these shares? Do you have any kind of discipline or formula, or it's really just subjective, self-directed, depending upon, what kind of conviction you have?
And see, that's what's crazy about the OTC, right? Is it's a wild west. I get questions all the time, like, what are your price targets? How high are you riding this thing? How high do you expect it to go? that's like the same people who asking, how high do you think GameStop's going to go as it's squeezing?
Right.
I don't
You don't
know.
know.
I mean, yeah, it could. This stock we're looking at right now, GWSO, it has no debt and has a 3 million float. If the volume keeps coming in and they stay clean, as in they aren't clearing any shares, this stock realistically could go to 30 to 50 if they don't do anything stupid, if it keeps getting the volume. But I don't know. So what do I always suggest to people on journeys like this is always be clearing shares out. Sell little chunks on these big green days. You see this,
Yeah.
you see this,
Partial profits. Yeah.
Yes. Cover your ass.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Um,
you're an interesting guy. So what kind of mine did you buy, Alex?
So the one you probably saw in my picture, that's the Midnight Owl mine in Arizona. And it's a past producing gold and copper mine, but where they the thing I love about that one in particular is way back in the 20s and 30s when it was in production, is they were only after copper mainly back then. And I work with a great guy from the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, Steven Syros. And what we figured out through XRF readings, which is how you figure out how much, a broad spectrum of how much gold, silver, minerals are in the ground.
Yeah.
We found that they were mainly after copper back then. And that's mainly
Arizona known for that.
Yes.
Right.
And what we found in that particular mine is that there were 13 ounces per ton of gold readings present, which, if you have any familiarity, is massive. I mean, it's incredibly high grade. And what that tells us is most likely they were literally just ignoring it. They were stripping the mine of copper and ignoring the gold, which is interesting.
Yeah. So I just want to get back to OTC just for a minute. And you mentioned the guy who was behind this EV stock.
Oh yeah.
So you bet on the jockey a lot of the time, right?
I bet on the CEOs. I bet on the share structures. I bet on I bet on the story. I bet on,
because I know a lot of guys that were like mining analysts, and before Mux, everyone went with every deal McEwen would do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I call it like betting on the jockey, because they've done it before. They could repeat it again in their next deal. And what an interesting interview, Alex. I'm glad I reached out to you. And, this is an arena that you really do need expertise before you start taking risks. So I saw your website's under construction. So
yeah, and that is,
go ahead.
That is because I'm actually retiring at the end of the year. This is my last year in the OTC. And that's why I have the website under construction. All that's going to be a part of what's coming in 2022. I'm heading towards the gold mining space primarily. And right now we have 14 mines that were past producing that are completely 100% owned. I own the deeds. And our goal is to start working towards that in 2022.
Dale, an extra reason we should bring him back. I'm not kidding. I'm very serious.
I think that you're, one of those gems that I find on Twitter that aren't, the most, have tons of followers, but you're a wealth of knowledge, and your story is inspiring. And if you ever need an IR guy for your gold mines, my phone number is da 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 da. Anyway, Alex, really pleasure meeting you. And since you're not retiring for another year, maybe we could get back together this spring and talk about what you're seeing again. But for now, the best way for people to stay in touch is what? Do you have a room, or do you have just your Twitter handle?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter every day, and we're in Discord. I have about 1,500 people in a Discord group right now, and it's really cool. Like GWSO, for instance, the EV company you're looking at, in my Discord, I have every single OTC stock we're invested in. And then if you click on the OTC stock in my Discord, I mean, you'll see pages upon pages of research on GWSO, on why I invested in this, why we're still here, you know, the whole reasoning behind everything. I mean, I put months and months of research into these things. And that's why we invest in them, because I mean, the dedication that goes behind these things is incredible. You
I
can
know
pull
it's
up any stock we're in.
Yeah, I know it's impossible, but what happens to these issues if we ever have a bear market? I know it's impossible, but if we ever have a bear market, and here's Alex's at Sunnyland24 is his Twitter handle, and so you could get a hold of Alex there. But what do you think? I mean, look, the Fed's been loose, pumping money. Everyone's, you know, everything's rallying. You could almost, you know, it's crypto, it's commodities, it's tech, it's marijuana. Find a bear trend in anything is challenging. So, what happens if we enter a bear market?
I get that question a lot about the OTC, and you know, it's always been a tougher question for me to even answer, right? Because how long have we been in a bull market since
82?
Yeah, I know, right? Since I've been a kid, you know,
Yeah,
like,
19 before you were born, 1982 was the birth of this one.
exactly. So what do I do when I get asked questions like that in the OTC? I go to the older OTC guys than me, and I'll tell you what they say.
Well, I'm one of the oldest guys you'll ever meet in the industry, so you could always ask me. But yeah, if liquidity dries up, it's not good news. You could own the best stock in a bad market; it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
So make hay while the sun shines, bro.
What I've always been told about OTC, you know, and I don't want anybody to take this because I haven't seen it myself, you know, so take it with a grain of salt, is the OTC, when big mark is correct, the OTC actually gets spikes because people circulate to a cheaper arena.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
so it might actually be a hedge, maybe.
Okay, so I'm putting Alex's Twitter up there in chat, and I want to thank you very much for, you know, sharing your journey with us, and your success, and that you're retiring. And how old are you?
I'm 28 right now.
And you're retiring. Okay. Well, I'm after this interview, I'm going to have to stay away from rope and razor blades. Okay.
Retiring to go into gold mining. I'm retiring from OTC, not retiring.
All right. I know. I'm kidding you, man. Anyway, really, you know, when you go through an interview with me, you become my trading warrior brother, even though you're an investor, not a trader. So really nice meeting you, Alex. And let's do it again, maybe in May. How about then?
Yes, May sounds great. I actually had a lot of fun. It was great being on here, you know, and I enjoy showing people the OTC because a lot of people they have no idea.
Yeah, that's why, you know, that's what we do here. We edify traders, investors every day by bringing in good content like you. Thanks for having a giving spirit and sharing it today, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, buddy. All right. I told you we'd have fun too, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So it's great chatting with you. That's a wrap, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. I have Charlie Gasparino with us tomorrow, and we're going to ask Charlie some tough questions. So, everyone, you could join Blake and the team for Face 2.0, members only. You're welcome, Alex. People really enjoyed it. So you'll probably be getting some new followers after today.
That's
and
awesome.
We already have some people that follow you that are in here. So that's a wrap. Take care, Alex. Good hunting, buddy.